Okay, guys. So we're getting here. I hope everybody's got the attachments. If you click there, you can have the option to download the attachments, and we have the PowerPoint presentation that we're doing. Another couple of flyers that we have inside of there, and then you can just use those and follow along, or just follow along here. What we're doing is we're having these webinar series that's starting tonight, and we're going to run this same one again on Thursday. And then the next month, we're doing some other ones with, we have some other guest speakers, like Kristen Zaborski's coming in too. So those are we're really looking forward to these, and we're really looking forward to doing these webinar series. On some of the Fridays, we're going to actually do a live one in the classroom over in Building 18. So without any further delays, what we're going to do is we're going to do this first one. It is on engagement and retention, and our guest speaker is Dr. Richard Barnhouse, who's fairly new to the school. So
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So it's awesome, and I'm going to move out of the way, and I'm going to have Richard come in, and there's his slide.
Great. Well, thank you, and thanks for the invitation. I appreciate being here very much. And I haven't had a chance to speak to this group yet, and I just want you to know, really how excited I am to be at State College. And I'm looking behind me because this is where everybody else is. But my first 6 weeks have been really, really good, really informative, and I'm really impressed with everything that I've seen so far. And I'm really happy to have been invited here today to speak with you about retention and engaging with students. And I know that from other institutions I've been a part of, as well as some national conversations, that we have these engaging students in the first year program and those types of things, and that's really good. But I like the fact that here at State College we're talking about how do we engage students right away, because it's amazing how impactful engaging with the students day one, day two, how impactful that is to their success in their career here with us, and as well as their success rates in graduation and or successful transfer on in their academic careers. As you all know, as instructors, faculty members, etc., if you can get that student turned on and engaged to what you're doing in the classroom, online, then you're going to have a lot better success rate overall. And it is really important to make sure, in my opinion, that students are interacted with in a way where they feel that sense of engagement early on. So I appreciate that this is something that, as a group, as a team, that you're talking about. So just a few points that I wanted to make specifically and very generally, very broadly about retention. I know that you're going to be diving into engagement in a lot more detail, and specifically as to how you're going about it as a group and as a team. So just very, very generally speaking, when we think about retention, in my mind, mathematically, retention means success. Because that means that we're doing what we need to do to engage the student, support the student, give the student access to the right services, and, that important thing, that articulation point with the faculty member, it's all coming together and it's all working, and we're able to retain and work with this student. I also appreciate that the type of institution that we are, that we have students transferring on, obviously before they finish their associate's degrees with us. However, successful transfer still means that we've retained the student for a period of time, which has allowed them to be successful and transfer on at their own pace. And so, if we are retaining students, we're engaging with students, students are persisting from fall to spring, retaining from fall to fall, then I think that really means that we are mathematically, if you look at the metrics, a successful institution. As well, when we think about, to my next point about sophomores, if we have sophomores, we have more curriculum, and we can provide a greater curricular array for all of our students. And I think that that's something that, in the 2-year setting, that's something that we're constantly struggling with nationally, which is how do we make sure that we're providing this curricular array to make sure that students are getting the most robust academic experience that they can, all at the same time while being coursework compliant and all those new things that we're managing as well. But how do we do that? And one of the ways that we can is by ensuring that we've got a strong sophomore class and continuing students to provide us with the impetus, the opportunity, and the resources through tuition to provide a greater curricular array to meet a wide variety of needs. And of course, in a 2-year setting, it's really important to have sophomores, otherwise we become really a one and done, which is freshmen in and then out. And we want to make sure that we really are a robust and comprehensive 2-year setting. And also, it really helps us now get to the point where we're able to, as you all know really well, opportunity to finish their baccalaureate degree with us. And so, we move from making sure that we're staying away from being a single-year institution to providing that robust associate's degree experience, and then building that into the baccalaureate programming and curriculum that we have here now. So for a variety of reasons, all very, very important as an institution. The other thing is that sometimes institutions, and you're probably all familiar with this as well, on retention, become overly focused on recruitment. And that's really important, and it will always be, but we can get lost in recruitment activities if we don't have a robust approach to retaining students overall. And so it's just sort of a mill on the front end with nothing on the back end to support students to make sure that they continue with us. And it becomes a little bit of a cycle that we want to make sure that we stay out of. There needs to be a healthy balance between recruitment of students and the retention program to support them while they're here so that we can ensure their success. And then finally, just a quick note about retaining students in their own best interest. And we can think about this in a lot of ways. But there is a real difference between a collection of credits and an associate's degree and or a bachelor's degree. Because a collection of credits doesn't do anything for the student if they leave without completing the degree. They simply are not able to describe to an employer about what this means because there isn't that degree completion with it. And so if we're able to retain students so that whether they move on to transfer or they're able to be with us and get an associate's degree and go to the workforce or get an associate's degree and move on to the baccalaureate, really, really important. And it also nationally, as you might be familiar with the data, that students who actually complete that associate's degree do much better upon transfer. And so that's really important. The other thing that I'm always concerned about, and I advise as students, is that you may be able to transfer after your first year without completing an associate's degree, but oh yeah, life happens as a junior and as a senior. And if something happens in life and you walk away from our institution without an associate's degree and you've transferred on to the 4-year university and you don't have a credential and life happens, you're far better prepared if you can fall back on that associates that you can have completed rather than, again, just simply having that collection of credits. So I just want to say I certainly appreciate the work that all of you are doing. I look forward to having the opportunity to get to know you all. If there are things that I can do to assist you, or are there things that you think that I should just simply know in my position, I'd be happy to hear from you. And please feel free to call me, stop in, or email me at any time. And so thanks for the opportunity. I'm looking behind me here to folks behind me. Thanks for having me here today. And look forward to working with all of you. And I'll be sticking around. So if there are any questions at the end. So thank you. And I will now turn it back over to some folks that you might be familiar with.
Okay, thank you. Well, I know your time's valuable and want to reinforce 2 points about this series. We have 4 in the series, and every one is designed so that there's still time for you to implement whatever we're going to cover this term. So we're talking about retention now. None of the things we'll talk about take more than 5 minutes per class. If you have comment content, it's 5 minutes per class section. You can reuse that, so they won't take that long. So that's one of the things we're going to do. The other theme is these are things that in the long run are going to save you time, especially the next session with Kristen is all about helping to use some of the things in Canvas to make your life easier. So we want to retain students on one hand, and we want to do it in a way that that has some short actions that you can do even yet this term that won't take you forever to do. So here they are. Think about an introductory video, or at least to let students know where your individual profile is located in Canvas. It's not the most obvious thing for students who've not used Canvas before, so either think about recording a short video that describes your class, what it does, some of its common goals, or to do that same thing as part of a course profile in your individual Canvas section. If you're not sure about doing a video, come by Online Learning and we can record it right here. We can upload it to your class. If you don't like the video concept, one of the first connections with students is to know who you are and why you're teaching the course. And it's more than just what your degree is or where you came from or you have horses and love cats. There's some reasons why you're teaching the class, and if you can make that connection with students in that first introduction, that might be 2 or 3 students that start off a little bit better. A lot of the research on the first week experience online is the conception that students don't necessarily know what to do. SCF has a lot of first-time in college students. They don't have a family background. Not everyone knows what a syllabus is, even though they've been to high school. So something that's a communication proactively about what they need to do in your class. We could make you up a list of what people could do in general with their class, and usually it's, well, email your instructor. But that's not what you want. You want the students to get from you what they need to know to start the class so that they're ready, which saves you some time. Probably the simplest way is to send them a list. Every class is different. Every instructor puts things in a different spot. If you can send that even in your introductory email, more on that later, or if you can put that in a course announcement so when they log in, first thing they see is what to do. That's one of the reasons that Quality Matters and us recommend a Getting Started folder. Speaking of making that first communication, one of the things that not everyone thinks about, especially people that open their classes early, is as your roster changes, students that you've used the Canvas inbox to communicate with, that message is already sent and they will never get that email or that Canvas message if they add the course after the time is that you've sent that. So we have 2 ways that we can do that. We can duplicate your initial email that you may send out on the first day. It can be the list of what students should do to get started. It could be a generic information thing. A lot of faculty do that. But go ahead and take the extra step of making that contents of that email, cut it and paste it into a Canvas announcement. Then students who add that course later that might have missed your email can catch that same information in the announcement. Okay? At the same time, not everybody in Canvas is going to see that announcement, so perhaps you might think about in Canvas, you can go to the People tab and you can look at at your course roster, and it'll tell you what students have never enrolled, never accessed your class. If, say, your class starts on a Monday, maybe Thursday, and maybe Saturday, or maybe Friday, you might go into your roster, make a quick note of the students who have not accessed your class, and send them another email. If they're on the roster, they're enrolled. If they don't show as having access in the class, they may be sitting there waiting for you to tell them what to do, and they don't know any better. So maybe 3 times the first week, maybe once the second week. Okay, it's just another way to be proactive, because the more students you reach with your list of what to do, those are the less students that are waiting, but more importantly, they're the less students that are sitting there asking you questions on the list that you've already sent them. Okay? And if you think about your incoming first week, how much of your incoming student email that they expect you to answer is questions that are already in your syllabus or already something else, that outbound communication can cut down on those questions. Okay? And frankly, if you politely refer to the fact that you've already sent those out and cut and paste that information out, students will learn very quickly to check their email. Our no-show deadline, at least for 16-week classes in the fall, is September 3rd, and we start on the 22nd. I think it comes out to 13 days. If you wait to check your roster until the end of the no-show deadline, that's probably a little too long. You know, students have had a week and a little bit where you've expected them to do assignments. And we do have a set of folks that, well, there's actually 2 sets of folks. First chance they can look at the no-show roster, they turn it in at the very first day, and we have faculty that turn it in the very last day. If you wait towards the last day and send out your outbound communications to those students who have not yet reached you, we have a much greater chance of reaching those students that for whatever reason either didn't get started, didn't have a book, didn't know what to do in the first place. It's fine to drop a no-show, but if we drop them too soon, maybe those students were salvageable if we reached out a little bit and found out what they were actually looking for. And if you look at the last item in the slide here, you know, tone is everything in the online world, and I think those of you that watch or do public social media and watch other things know how important tone is. But you know, if you think about the difference between "I haven't heard from you yet," "Are you having any problems?" is far different than "You're so far behind, I haven't heard from you, so I dropped you today." Or if I don't hear from you in the next 2 hours, I'm going to submit you as a no-show. There's kind of a big difference, and that 13 days between the start of class and the no-show period gives you at least 3 or 4 chances to reach out to people to see if you can retain them. One of the items that you had a chance to download, and perhaps you've seen them around campus, is a new document called Campus Connections. It's the old yellow pages that you might have seen around here. Beth Baxter updated that for the college. You have a copy here. You might consider uploading a copy of that Campus Connections resource to your Getting Started folder in your Canvas class, and give them a chance to know exactly who they need to contact for financial aid or registration of those other issues. And it's that positive information that the online student at home might not be able to find easily for you. If they have a question you can't answer, don't hesitate to just email us, and we'll find the answer and reach out to those students. You know, they're really not alone here. One of the exciting things about Dr. Barnhouse being here is the creation of a student services online portal, online resources for them, and this is just the first step in getting that started. Since we have just a titch more time, here's 2 bonus ones. This is my favorite piece of advice for anything in any class for an online instructor. I've been doing this now for 16 years. It took me about 12 to learn it, and this is a really good tip for engagement. When you get ready to sit down with a class, anytime, any place, you log in. First thing most faculty normally do is go to Gradebook or to modules and assignments and start grading. I'd like you to think about something I've called the 5-minute rule. That as soon as you log into a class, the first thing you think about is, what could I do that takes less than 5 minutes that would be interesting for this class today? Maybe it's an email, maybe it's a reminder to a couple of late students, maybe it's something about an assignment. Doesn't matter what it is. Outbound communication to one or more students every time you access a class before you sit down and grade. It creates over the course of the semester a real pattern of social engagement that any student who's actively following your class to the end can realize that there's a live body on the other end that's interacting with this class. It's not just a class that runs itself, and there's nothing more that I think anyone can do than to realize that the average faculty member may access the class 3-4 times a week, and if you make it a 1-minute rule or a 1.5-minute rule, and then you save whatever you did and you do it for the next sets of classes, it really takes very little time, and it provides a really excellent pattern of interaction, both for the students and for you. And then the last little one, most everyone that's been here a while has an introductory forum. They ask students to explain something about yourself. If you have a few minutes in that first week of class, take a quick notation of who your students are, and these are all fakes, so unless it's a coincidence. Students like to be known if you use their names by their nickname. Sometimes it's nice to know what they've done, why they're taking a class, and then later on through your whole 16 weeks, maybe 1 or 2 times you can pull this sucker out, and you can provide some little feedback mechanism where a student knows that you know something that they provided, and you're actually commenting back to them instead of standardized feedback that could be appropriate for anybody. So the last 2 kind of go through the whole term. The first 5 are things that really help you in individual and engagement. It's all about communication. It's all about reaching out. We tend to think in a face-to-face class, the students know where to go. They come to the room, and we start doing what we do. In the online class, sometimes that's much more difficult, and we may have to reach out in that first week to get people to come into our room so they can persist past that second week. There's a really statistics on online dropping. The peak is in that end of that first week, beginning of that second, and then it tails off in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks as people drop on their own. What we'd really like to do is, if we can save 1 or 2 students in that first week by reaching out to them, then that's a student that may finish their semester, may keep their financial aid eligibility, and can achieve some of those successes that Dr. Barnhouse referred to earlier. Anyway, those are our 5 tips plus a couple of bonuses. You can certainly reach out to us online. This presentation will record, is being recorded. We have copies of it, and you can always drop by here, and if you want to know how to set up a getting started folder or want any additional information about these or anything, just let us know and we'll reach out to you. Okay. If you'd like to post your questions, all of us are here in the chat window. Feel free, and we'll just kind of hang out here and see what kind of questions you may have. You can certainly turn your mic on and we can do it that way, or you can use the chat window. I think lots of us are used to Illuminate. If you're looking for the raise your hand button or some of the things we're used to using, this is kind of our first shot at Skype for Business, but it seems to be pretty stable and it works for us.
Dale?
Yes.
This is Leo Perry. I tuned in late to this. I got held up. Is there a way to get this brought back up on my PC? The whole course?
It's recorded. We'll send you out the recording link when we're done. And you'll be able to review the whole thing.
That's just fine.
You bet. And, you could, now that you just logged in, there's a little button that said that there's some things for you to download. You could download the presentation itself now.
And which button is that?
Well, it would have popped up on your screen. There's not a physical button that's there. It would have said there's things that are available for download. If you don't see it, we'll just send the message out.
It's there.
Okay.
I guess it's download. It's now it's at the bottom of my PC.
Yeah, it's kind of just a notification where we do attach documents that go along with it.
That'd be fine.
Mary, I saw that you had a question about closed captioning. Yeah, I saw that. What we'll do is we'll post the video right away, Mary, and then I'll start working on the closed captioning and have the transcripts available shortly after I get the video. It'll be fast for me to get the video out right away for everybody. It'll just take me a little time for the closed captioning.
Not to raise a technicality, but I'll answer that question a little bit differently. We have an obligation to have caption videos for students that have specific accessibility issues on demand immediately, but we can post a video when we don't have those that doesn't have captioning. We prefer to introduce them with captioning, but a video without in the short term is far better than no video. And if video, again, isn't your thing, that introductory message is almost as good. We see 2 or more people are typing. Ooh.
And you can open up your mic, too, if you don't want to type, too.
Suzanne, I think that's an outstanding suggestion because you know that information's in the syllabus. It's fairly easy for you to cut and paste it and send it out as a reminder. It's the syllabus sits out in a little tab by itself. And when we look at one of the things we saw at the Canvas conference just a couple of weeks ago is they're trying to do some research on individual courses that shows what do students click on first when they first access a class, and by far the first thing they look at are assignments. They want to look at how long is the list and how much am I going to have to do. Syllabus was down there in 3, 4, 5, depending on where they were, and I think that's a great idea. Even if I think if you have a short 8-week class, whatever it is, a reminder of the plagiarism module right before that first term paper. There's a whole lot of things that you can do. Maybe it's babysitting them in some way, but with first-time in college students, you can call it babysitting, but it really is trying to help them learn the habits that they need to succeed here. And if they learn them here, then when they get to a 4-year university or college, they may not have to do those for the next instructor. What you're saying, Suzanne, is I find that it's far easier for me to scold them about maybe not doing something we've asked, the more I have gone out of my and to make sure that stuff's come to them in 2 or 3 different ways, in an announcement, in an email, in the instructions to the assignment. if they don't do it, they've seen it several times already, and it's far easier to make that correction than if it was like, oh yeah, it was on the 3rd page of the syllabus, you should have remembered that. I think we all hate scolding. Mary, that's a great idea. Weekly emails to review the last week and what people have done. A lot of times people will put a pen to that, a little bit of what's going on the next week. A transition between one week and the next is a really good idea. Students have a tendency to look module to module to module and forget that they're in a class with process.
And let everybody know, too, that Dr. Barnhouse is here if you have any questions for him, too.
Wow.
And while we're reading this, their next text that came in, as we develop our fall sessions are already set and everything, but as we go forward with our spring trainings, we're going to keep developing the faculty webinar series. Just let us know if this time is a good time for you, if there's a different time that works better for everybody, and then if the webinar series works great too. Any feedback you can give us would be just greatly appreciated.
Thanks for the example, Anastasia. This will show up in the recording. We're still processing it all. As a lead-in for next time, we will learn a new term that we learned at InstructureCon. We'll give you the explanation for TL-DR. I think it's right.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, TL-DR. That'll be our lead-in for the next session. Well, if you think you know what it is, you can share it with us, but we're gonna not tell until next time. Bum's the word, but you're really close.
Yeah, Josh got it.
You want to say
Yeah, I know.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, I'm on the internet.
Anyway, thank you all. We're a little over our deadline. We appreciate you coming in. We're going to do the same thing. No, that's not to you, Anastasia. No,
I think he's just having fun. Yes. No, that works out pretty good. Thank you. And then we'll see everybody around the campus here shortly, towards the end of the week and this Friday too.
Yep, we'll be here. We'll see y'all at the convocation.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, we'll be there. Angie is our new instructional designer. She's been in the session monitoring the chats and everything. So if stop by and say hi to Angie on Friday.